Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. You know, I got to tell you, when I do these podcasts or these radio shows, actually, I got to get used to saying radio show because on the Brushwood Media Network, we are a radio show and we're not just a simple podcast. Pooey. We're here and I got to say the music, which was written by Tommy Tika, who's out of Sweden, it always makes me energetic when I start these shows. So and he wrote that specifically for the show, so it's really cool. And then he made a song out of it that went on the top 100. So good for him. And we're going to be joined a little bit later by my partner Michelle, but first we have an international show today. We're going to be talking with Tammie, and Tammie's going to tell me her last name because she told it to me right before we began, and I don't want to screw it up again. So Tammie, could you sign in, please, and give us your last name?
Hi, I'm Tammie Vecchiarelli.
Vecchiarelli, and she is spending her Friday night in Poland with us here on Positive Talk. And I thank you greatly for staying up late. And like I said, it's Friday night there and it's 9:30 and you're still sober. Wow, that's great. And so but it's great. It's great to have you here. And we got lots to talk about in this show today. I'm very grateful that you decided to come on the show, and we do these 15-minute meetings, and we had a really terrific time. You've got wonderful energy, you're very smart, and you're very passionate about helping women lead the life that they were meant to lead and to heal the trauma. I'm not sure if we talked about it in our 15-minute, but I've done hundreds and actually thousands of interviews now, and every woman that I talk to has been subjected to trauma in one way or another. And it really hurts my heart when I think that 50% of the population is preying on the other 50%, and women have got so much to deal with that they have to go through, and they need some help, and they need a coach to help them go through the issues that they may not even remember. Sometimes they don't remember the things that traumatized them until they're brought up in a coaching session or a counseling session and that kind of thing. So it really is, it's too bad, but thank God you're here.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful to be here. I feel like this is going to be just such a great experience for me.
And by the way, she is also, the unique thing is she's a third grade teacher in Poland and doesn't speak Polish. And
Yes.
Yes. She teaches, like I said, third grade in an international school that has kids from all over all over the globe, from Korea and some from the United States, and because there's lots of techie stuff going on in the country and stuff, and so people move there and they need their kids to go to school, and so the international school, that's what you call it, isn't it? The international school?
Yes. That's exactly
and you've been there for 4 years and you don't speak Polish, and you because you didn't figure you'd be there for all that long, but
pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
4 years is a good time for you to be there, and now you're planning. I love people that have adventurous spirits like you do, because your next stop is going to be Italy, and exactly. you are actually going to learn Italian so that you can communicate at the diner because the food there I hear is incredible.
Yes, exactly. That's my exact plan. I feel like it's coming to be time where I need to move forward in life, not only with teaching, but with just life in general, moving towards the things that really are passionate for me and things that I believe that I'm meant to do in life.
Let's talk about that a little bit because there are so many people, and I know that you work with women
Mhm.
pretty much exclusively, right?
Yes. I mean, I'm open to working with men, but pretty much exclusively women. Yes.
Yes, or men that act like women. No, I'm kidding. But because you work with
Mhm.
women so much, and they have just so many issues, that why
Mhm.
do you think it is in the work that you're doing, why so many people lack the ability to do what you're doing and live their passion and understand and work for that rather than going to soccer practice, going to work, making dinner, doing and granted all those things have to be done, but still, why is it that you think that so many people don't live in the passion in their lives that you do?
It's really a question, and I think it's really hard as women. I feel like we're taught from a young age that we're supposed to stay within this box, and a lot of us women do, and it's really, really hard to break out of the societal box, and not only the societal box, but the familial box, because there are so many different relationships in our lives and so many different ways that we're supposed to fit in. So to break out of that, it takes time and effort and actually really looking deep within yourself to find out who you truly are to even try to start to do that. So that's really what I want to help women do.
It is one of the things that I think a lot of people just don't do is they don't work diligently, and it is work to find out who they really are
Exactly. I completely agree. I
and what
completely.
their passion is and why they're here. I like to say that I do this. They've got over 1,000 shows now that are up, and I've done this for a long time, and this is my passion. This is what I do, and I believe and it doesn't matter what anybody else's believes because this is what I believe is that before I even came here, before I was even born, I knew that this was my mission. This is what I was going to do. I was going to have a show called Positive Talk, and I was going to talk to great people about doing wonderful things because it is so needed right now. And so I got it and I get it. But why do so many people not understand that they need to go in search of who they really are?
I think women really struggle because we have so many things around us, like addiction and our phones and all these different things that kind of get in the way that we forget to look within. We have families that we're taking care of. Even just societal things tell us as women that, we have to not only have the families at a certain age, we have to have the job, be the manager of the household. We have to do all those things. When do you expect women to actually have time for themselves and to look within? I feel like part of the reason why I've been able to do this is because I've put off some of those things that I want in life, like a family, a partner. And I've taken the time to find me. That's just the choice that I've made, but not every woman wants that choice. Some women want to, like my sister, for example, she got married very young, and that I feel like is her purpose. And I feel like it just depends on where you are in your stage of life.
And looking as a man thinking about women that I've known, that it makes more sense to me because if you don't know who you really are, if you don't know what you're about, you cannot be a good partner to somebody. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. I mean, me now, looking hopefully in the next phase of my life to find my person, I'm thinking, what do I need to do within to become the best partner possible for that person? And I hope he's doing the same thing. But I feel, oh, you would hope. I mean, I don't know.
Is there some wood that we can tap on and knock on wood kind of thing?
Um, but I also feel like that's because I've had that reflection and I've had that time to myself to think about those things. Most people I don't think. I think a lot of the dating culture today is, I'm supposed to be 30 years old and married. and starting to have a family. So let me just find the person at the time that fits that bill instead of thinking the actual values that you want within that life, within that household.
Well, what's interesting about that is when you think about how we live day to day, we don't come into contact with that many eligible people of the opposite sex in
Mhm.
our lifetime, let
Yeah.
alone so the selection size is pretty small. But if you
Mm.
know who you are and you know what you're about, then the selection size doesn't really matter because you're not going to get hooked into a relationship with somebody that you don't feel really drawn to and and with a kindred spirit for. Is that right?
100%. And as a spiritual person, that's exactly what I've experienced in my personal life, not only when it comes to romantic relationships, but when it comes to friendships, all of those different dynamics that you can have within relationships. I feel like if you know yourself from within, you only to a degree can attract in people that are aligned with you when you come to that higher self.
It's amazing to me how that works. And
Mhm.
there's a now that's it's kinda like the Wizard of Oz. It's a good witch and there's a bad witch. The good part is you get to meet people that resonate with you and vibrate at your level and have the same energy that you do, and so you meet some incredible people, but unfortunately, along the way, people who don't resonate with you anymore because you're raising your vibration to a higher level, they
Mhm.
fall away. So there's a lot of turnover there, isn't there?
There is, and it is even harder, I feel like, in those situations where you have family that are at a lower vibration and you still want the relationship with the family members, but at the same time you're at this higher vibration. How do you make it work? So that's another layer to healing that I feel like that isn't even talked about is how do I stay in this high vibrational state while dealing with people in our families or in our close-knit relationships that aren't at that place? How do you deal with that?
Well, exactly. We'll use you. Can we use you, Tammie, as an example?
Please.
Oh, you grew up in Jersey, right?
I did, yes.
So you're a Jersey girl,
I am, yes.
but I'm willing to bet that when when you told some friends and family, "Hey, you know what? Got a job opening, and I'm going to Poland," and I imagine somebody, I don't know who, in your circle of family and friends said, Tammy, are you crazy? You're gonna go all halfway around the world for a job? Hey,
Mhm.
did that happen to you?
Oh my god, yes, it did. Oh my god, and it even continued into being here. Because I mean, when you come abroad, you have a job, but at the same time, you don't know if you have a job, you know, because you interview online, everything is great, but then you get here and you're like, "Well, did I just fly halfway across the world and there's nothing actually here?" It's a true leap of faith. Yeah.
I can only, and then of course, if there was no job there, your family would say, "Oh, Tammy, see, we told you so. We told
Oh,
you so."
exactly, yes. Mhm.
And so I applaud you for having the intestinal fortitude to be able to make that decision and to not let anything stand in your way.
Well, and I feel like the only reason why I did actually have the power within to do that is because I was on my healing journey before that. So I actually had a really great mentor who helped me with past life regression. And I found out I was struggling with even making this decision because I was thinking about making this decision for about 8 years before I actually did it, before I actually made the leap of faith. And part of that was I had a past life where a father figure had passed away when I was at a different location and I wasn't able to be with him. So I had to heal past those things to even get to a point where I felt like I could leave. Because in my now life, I still have fear that my parents are something's gonna happen to my parents and I'm so far away.
I totally get it. I totally get it, and I understand. We need to
Mhm,
take a break, and when we come back, you just said one of the most favorite things I like to discuss, and I
mhm,
we don't discuss it a lot on this show, but past
mhm.
life regression and studying your past lives can be the key to living this life a lot better. because if you find out what the trauma was, because, well,
Mhm.
let me take this break and then when we come back, we're going to delve into that. Can we do that?
Yes, please.
And
Mhm.
we'll be right back.
At 67 years young, I never thought I'd feel this good again. But thanks to Purium's Ultimate Transformation Lifestyle, to date, I've lost 37 pounds and gained energy, confidence, and a whole new outlook on life. This isn't a diet. Purium is a complete lifestyle change, giving me all the natural, organic, nutrition-packed superfoods that fuel my body, crush my cravings, and help me burn fat naturally without starving myself. No gimmicks, no guesswork, just a simple, proven system that works. Superfood shakes, detox support, and real results. If I can do this at 67, imagine what you can do. It's your time to feel better, look better, and live better with Purium. Let's do it now and let's do it together. Go to www.positivetalkradio.net and click on the Transform You to get started. That's positivetalkradio.net. Transform You.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. And we're talking with Tammie.
Vecchiarelli.
Perfect. See, and when you go to Italy, you're going to fit right in because that's an Italian name.
It is, yes.
So
Mhm.
that they'll think you're a native who's got a little accent.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but I wanted to talk to you about this because are you familiar with Dr. Michael Newton's work?
I do not think so.
He wrote Journey of Souls.
Oh, yes, I have heard of him before. Yes, yes, yes. Mhm.
And one of the things that he says in there and how he actually got started was that a guy came to him and said, I have this pain in my side. And
Mhm.
this pain in my side has been here for as long as I can remember. And I've gone to every doctor I can find, and they tell me there's nothing wrong with me. And so I go to a psychologist and they said, well, you may need to be on medication because there's nothing physically wrong with you. And so maybe just all in your mind. And
Mhm.
so he went to Dr. Michael Newton and he did a past life regression. And it was one of the first ones that Dr. Newton had done. And during the past life regression, the man found himself on the battlefield of World War One, and he described the insignia that was on the uniform. He described the place he was at, and it was all verified over time that he was actually that this person was actually there, and he was bayoneted and killed, and the bayonet went into his side.
Wow.
And so they cleared that
Mhm.
and cleared through suggestions and stuff, and they cleared it, and that pain never came back. So our past lives, and
Mhm.
okay, if you don't believe in past lives, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but I know that they're true and I know that they're real. And
Mhm.
I've had one. I've had a regression done, and Tammie, has too. And
Yeah.
so I'll tell you, we live multiple lives, and
Mhm.
we carry some of the things to this life that we need to clear up and clean up from our past lives. Is that an accurate description, Tammie?
100%, and I absolutely love this whole field. This is exactly what I wanna work in and what I wanna help them with. So, yes.
And I would suggest, and if you ever get back to the States, I'd wait a couple, 3, 4 years before you do that. But the
Mhm.
Newton Institute, they teach people how to go and do past life regression, and they take them even deeper, and then they take you to the other side where you can see what you do and what you're about and who you're around while you're at home on the other side. But we're not going to talk about that today because past life regression all by itself is a really important mechanism for
Yes.
healing. And that describes what happened to you, isn't it?
It is. So, like I was saying, and right before we left, one of the past lives I remembered was my father being killed when I was away. I've done multiple past life regressions. In another one, I found out that I had a relationship with a man, and there was a woman that was jealous during this past life and ended up putting a curse on me for 13 lifetimes, separating me from this soulmate, which is wild to uncover. Even wilder, I talked to the spirit of this woman and said to her, I know we have a lot of trauma, a lot of history going on. If there is something that we need to solve in this lifetime, I invite you to come in so long as you come in a healthy way. I came to Poland within a few months. I saw a woman that I was working with, and I looked at her in the eyes and said, "You look familiar to me." And she said, "You look familiar to me too." And that was the woman that cursed me, the soul of the woman.
Wow. And
Yeah.
that was for how many how many lifetimes do you have left to go while you're still being cursed?
No, so the curse is gone. Everything is solved. She's no longer in my life. I have no will towards her whatsoever. But I feel like that was just the last little piece to the puzzle of us just seeing each other again, mending fences, and releasing all the energy that was there for so long.
Now let's go through the process a little bit because I wanna make it as easy for people to understand as possible that when you go into a hypnosis or a past
Mhm.
life hypnosis, you go fairly deep, but you still know that you're still here. And
Yes.
at least as far as mine were, I knew my surroundings, I knew what was here, but things just started coming out of my face
Mhm.
like she would ask a question and I would answer in in one past life, I was wondering why um I my at one point in my life, everybody left. When my wife and I divorced, everybody left, and I went to them and asked, "Why did that happen?" And they said, "Well, you needed to learn this lesson because in a past," and went back into a past life. I was a 15-year-old Indian boy, and
Wow.
your 15-year-old Indian boy was very difficult, and he did not listen to the elders. He didn't listen to the tribe, and so because he thought he knew better, or I thought I knew better, and
Mhm.
so they excommunicated me, from the tribe, which, of course, cut off my food supply and everything else, and being a 15-year-old kid, I didn't have the knowledge to so I died of exposure because that was part of the whole thing. And so I had to learn to be alone and how to
Mhm.
function by myself and to do all the things that I do now and stuff. Does that make sense? Because that was kind of my deal.
Yes, it completely resonates. And I am sorry that your soul had to go through that. That's a very traumatic event for the soul to go through. And then not only that, to have to relive it and in this lifetime in a different way and to heal from it. I mean, that is what our souls do. We want to heal everything, but it's still a trauma that you went through that you had to heal. So I applaud you for even recognizing that that's a thing.
Yeah, and so today in this life,
Mhm,
I am I'm alone. I don't have a partner. But
mhm.
I'm not alone, if that makes any sense at all,
Yeah.
because I feel very, connected to my guides and the other side and the people that I've met and the people that I know that resonate well with me and stuff, so it's not a matter of being lonely or that
Mhm,
I need somebody because I don't. I can do this quite well, thank you very much, and that's part of all of that learning that I've
mhm,
been, working on for
mhm.
probably more than just those 2 lives.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, to answer your question, I feel like everything is connected. So actually for me, when I started on my journey, it's a really weird story to tell. I actually was meditating when I had my first past life memory. I was by myself in my room in my apartment at the time, meditating, and I saw a white light all of a sudden and had this memory of being in a field with who I think was my daughter in that lifetime and a woman. And all of a sudden, my vision went blank and I couldn't see the child anymore. And I began to panic because I couldn't see her. And then it was as if I then became a spirit and I watched over her, but I could never touch her again. And that soul I know now is eventually going to be my daughter in this lifetime who helped me start on my healing journey.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
And it's very healing. It's very therapeutic when you
Mhm.
have the opportunity to recognize what was going on and why it is and why it happened. I'll give you another example. Now, this I haven't had past life regression on, but I know it to be true. Are you familiar with George Armstrong Custer?
No, tell me about him.
He was a general in the Civil War. He was the boy general at 24. He became a general, and then
Mhm.
he went and fought the Indians. And in 1876, he was at the Battle of the Little Bighorn, which is where he was killed. It was Custer's last stand,
Mhm.
and I was there.
That's amazing.
I know I can hear the 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 rattle of the sabers and the horses as they were going, and so I know from deeply inside, and I don't know how I know this, but I
Mhm.
know that I was there, and because it's always been fascination for me ever since I was a little kid about that particular battle and that particular time, and so it's that, and that happens, I think, to more of us than some of us think that we need to be on medication, so we're not going to say anything about it.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah, fully.
But I think it's a fascinating and you know what's interesting about it is they are now, just now in the last 15 years with I forget her first name, but Eileen Cannon, I think, and others, that they are now figuring out that people do live in past lives
Mhm.
because they can verify that person that they're talking about actually existed. And some people can even go back and look at the house that they used to live in, and
Mhm.
and if they spoke a different language. So there's beginning to verify all of these things.
Mhm.
Has that been your experience?
Yeah, so 100%. And I love that this is happening because I went on my spiritual journey about 10 years ago. So watching how spirituality has shifted and changed over time has been absolutely amazing.
And speaking of changing over time, Brachelle's here. How are you, Brachelle?
Hi, Tammie.
Hi.
I am doing okay. Today is a bit eventful, like every other day, but we push through and we find ourselves further, like you guys were just talking about. So, talk about growth.
You you have the event. I want you to do a past life regression, Brachelle. I I think
Yeah, I definitely could probably benefit off of that a lot. I truly believe that this is my last life because it doesn't make sense any other way. So, yeah, it'd be
well,
cool to do. Tammie,
well,
have you done that?
A past life? Yeah, a past life regression, yes.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to jump on the train.
and she's going to be teaching that in addition to the work
Awesome.
that she does with coaching women and stuff. So we were just talking about past lives and their impact on our health and on our healing journey, because a lot of times, did I say oh? And Tammy, I also wanted to mention this is that according to Dr. Michael Newton's work, we
Mhm.
travel in the same circles lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And we
Mhm.
have the same people that are in our lives, only they may be doing a different role this time. Like last time they were maybe your lover, this time they're your sister, and or your brother or your father or you know what I mean? Is in your experience can you tell I'm getting a little excited? Can In your experience, is that true?
Yes, and I love that you're getting excited because this whole subject makes me excited. So, yes, I do. I have noticed that our souls do reincarnate often with what we call soul families. Um, there are times where other people come in that are of influence, but a good portion of the time we do reincarnate with the same souls over and over again.
And we do that, why?
To learn lessons for comfort, I think there are various reasons. It depends on the contracts that you have with the soul coming in and the things that you're trying to learn in the lifetimes.
I think that's true. And also to clear up karma from previous lifetimes, as an example, if you have somebody that was your your father in a previous lifetime and he was abusive, then in this lifetime you may be the adult and then the other child, and then have a child, and that might be him because he has to learn the other side of all of that. um it really is a fascinating thing. Matter of fact, my youngest son, when he was 3 or 4 years old, and my wife was scolding him about something, and he turned to her and he said, when I was the mom and you were the kid, and she didn't think anything of it, but it was like, and then of course he grew up and lost all that memory, because you come in with some, right?
Yeah, you come in with some, and not only that, kids are just more open to the spiritual space until about age 8. Their minds are just so expansive and a sponge. And I even know as a child, for me, I had a ton of imaginary friends, like hundreds and thousands. Now I realize that they weren't actually imaginary friends; they're actually spirits. But yeah, I think that we are much more open as children, just because while we're here on this earthly plane, we get bogged down by things and we just shut off our gifts. Me being one of them for a while, actually.
Well, I think we all do that, and when we come back, I want to turn the attention to Michelle, because she is now rediscovering and remembering the gifts that she had and came in here with. And I would love for you guys to talk about that a little bit, and maybe do a little mini counseling session on we'll dissect her, and then we'll put her back together. Is that okay, Michelle? I should probably
That's
ask you.
fine. That's fine.
So we need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and my great friend Rochelle is here, so I'm real excited about that. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for a powerful way to grow your brand while making a real difference? Well, Positive Talk is the perfect platform to align your message with inspiration, hope, and meaningful conversations. By sponsoring Positive Talk, your brand will reach an engaged audience that values positivity and connection. People who want to support companies that share their values. Take this opportunity to showcase your business in a space that uplifts, inspires, and creates lasting impact. Don't wait. Email me, kevin@kmmedia.pro today to learn how you can partner with us and spread positivity while growing your brand. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Rochelle and Tammie Vecchiarelli. Holy Hella is here.
Yes.
Pronounce your last name again, darling.
Vecchiarelli.
Vecchiarelli. And by the way, that commercial, I don't know who does the voice for that commercial, but he's pretty awesome. You can hire him. Just go to kevin@positivetalkradio.net and we'll talk. In any event, Rochelle, welcome back. It's wonderful to see you, and we'll have to talk about your eventful day later. But you have been exploring and have always known deeply, I think, that you have got special gifts, but they're scary sometimes, and and especially when something comes up that you weren't expecting and scares the living daylights out of you. So, Tammie, is that kind of normal as she's rediscovering what's going on?
100% from my own experience. Like I said earlier, when I was a child, saw many spirits. I shut myself off from that. So once I started on my healing journey again, I almost had to reconnect with that and realign with that. And now I often see spirits. I actually saw one earlier today. And I often get questions from people like, aren't you afraid? And it's funny because at first you are when you first start things, because like I said, you've been disconnected. But then once you get reconnected with yourself, it almost feels like home. It feels like you're coming back to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I would have to agree with that. There was a woman that we had on the show within the last few weeks, and she mentioned something about how it can start to feel so subtle. It's not very intense. Like for me, when I was younger, I didn't understand much. I didn't understand myself. I didn't know how to protect certain energies and what was
Mhm.
around me and what I was letting in. And now it's comforting, really, because you know that there's like it's not the woo woo. I think they either think is all positive or all negative, and you have full control of what energies you feel and what you let in. For me, I think the scariest thing is when I can sense it somewhere in me, but I can't like label the feeling or the energy itself, like whether it's more towards good or bad. And also, um, if I can't see them, like even if I can't feel much, which
Mhm.
doesn't happen often because I know those spirits are usually pretty powerful. It freaks me out when I can't understand or see exactly what it is that I'm working with. And I had an experience that kind of shut me down, and it's been something that kind of always pushes and comes through me, that I've definitely paid attention to a lot more. But I think about just how you mentioned being in your childhood and coming up to this point, it's almost kind of surreal because as a child, like you don't actually know how to interpret it. You don't know how to explain it. There's only certain people that maybe were comfortable with hearing the idea of it. My dad was not one of them, and his house was always full of spirits. And then on the other side, I would know somewhere in me, I'd wake up in the middle of the night because I could feel something happening. My great grandma would be with my mom in the living room, and my mom talked to her through a specific plant that she had had. And I would just go sit with her, and she's like, "Why are you awake?" I'm like, "Oh, well, you're out here talking to grandma. Like she left me, and she's with you." And I never met her, but it was always comforting. So I think there's a much broader side to it, but still, I'm learning not to just let it all in as I open up my heart, but also to set boundaries along the way,
Yes.
so that I don't have that experience that makes me want to run from it because this is a part of who I am, and I don't want to run from it.
Exactly, and I think that is so, so important, and setting boundaries, I would say, is one of the first things if you're diving into that area of mediumship that you should do is just setting boundaries and saying, "Hey, I'm open, but this is the stipulation, I'm in a white bubble, I'm grounded down, like, I'm a tree through me," all those types of things, making sure that you're fully protecting yourself so that they know, "Hey, I'm the controller here, not you." That's the first thing I would say, and then on top of that, if you don't know anything about your clear senses, I would definitely dive into that and try and understand more. If they are trying to talk to you, how are they trying to talk to you? Are they trying to talk to you through sight, through hearing, through taste? There are so many different ways
Yep.
they can talk to you and really just discovering how they are.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
my question for you is, what was it like when you met all of your spirit guides? Like when you coming from seeing all these, yeah, I didn't have any, so I would have called imaginary friends, but definitely saw spirits any and everywhere I went, at the store, at school, whatever. And it was pretty normal to me. Go into people's houses and I recognize that there's someone else there that only I can see, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But when you came full circle and you recognized who and what was your spirit guides and um, just the group you have on the other side that guides you and protects you, what was that experience like?
It was really empowering, honestly, because I was able within me to have the discernment of, like you said, what are the positive energies and what are more on the negative energies, which I don't even really like that terminology, to be honest, because
Yeah,
we're all
me either.
but discerning, which ones do I feel comfortable with, which ones don't I feel comfortable with, and
Yep.
thankfully I had along the way, my grandma is one of my guides. She actually
Mm,
came right before this, um,
mhm.
and just helped guide me along the way, and I work with archangels, I work with gods, with goddesses. I'm very open to whatever comes through. And just knowing when there's a positive energy around me, I can almost feel it within me that it's light, it's bright, and it's not here to harm me.
Yeah, that makes 100%
Mhm.
makes sense. And I have one more question, Kevin, please. Uh, just, just one more. I know I came in so late, but
Of
there's so much
course.
going
No,
through my
no,
head.
no. No, you've got so much going on, and this it's a great conversation. So please have it.
Mhm.
Yes, it is. Okay, you were just saying the spirits, letting them in. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, I lost track because I was just like, please let me ask this question. Um,
Well, you think of the
Damn
question,
it.
and
Okay, let's move on.
well, it'll come back to you. Is
Yes,
what
it
it
will.
will. So Tammie, now you again, you work with women. One of the
Mhm.
things that you do is the Divine Weaver's Path. Would you explain what that is?
Yes, so like I've talked about on my own journey, it's been a lot of figuring out along the way, hoping that I find the right person, developing my own skills, um, thankfully finding some mentors along the way. And for this Divine Weaver's Path, it's the ability for a woman to come in anywhere that she is on her journey and be able to choose what she wants, but not only choose, have the support that she needs along the journey. With the foundations, having the ability to choose your path with self-led things like guidebooks that help you to develop your chakras, help you to develop your clear senses. But then if you want something more grounded and you need extra help, I have 6 month options where you and I can work together for 6 months in a deep dive, looking at your soul contracts, understanding things that are going on with you, in addition to the self led options, so that you have a full scope of everything that you need on your journey.
Hmm.
And soul contracts are an
Mhm.
interesting topic to go on. What are Brachelle's soul contracts, other than, of course, to work with me and we're going to have, a wonderful time and all of that. But are you able to discern what the soul contracts for somebody is or are?
So, if you have you ever heard of the red string theory before?
Yes.
So, the red string theory is a theory that all of us are connected by a string, whether it be someone that you just meet in passing or it's someone that you have a good, long standing relationship with. And not only that, these strings are varying size. So, the person that you're passing on the street is like a spider web size compared to someone that you have a lasting, familiar relationship potentially, could be like the size of a ship, like a rope. And through those connections, you have positive and negative experiences, the trauma that you hold, not only in this lifetime, but in past lifetimes. So those are the things that I can see and help women to heal.
Hmm.
And like we talked about in the very beginning, every
Mhm.
woman that I've really ever met, including my mother, including my sister, and all those, trauma is awfully common. I'd say like 97%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
it is.
And that leads into the question that I now remember. And that flared it back. For me, I've had this experience, and I'm just curious to ask you how it's been for you. But since you've gone on this journey of really just being grounded in your energy and also being aware of so many other energies that maybe other people don't sense or feel or know that are there, has
Mhm.
it helped you be able to really understand somebody and know exactly what kind of a connection you're going to allow with them or how to communicate with them, and like just all the things that come into setting boundaries and having a relationship and how that kind of varies from person to person? Like, have you just experienced this has helped you a lot, just understand other people?
It has. I will say it has been challenging, of course, as with anything in life as you learn it. You know,
Yeah.
setting boundaries with important people in your life, I mean, that's just hard enough to do in itself, let alone depending upon the phase of the relationship you're in. But as you go along your journey, you realize that by you setting those boundaries with those people, in the end, you're actually helping them. You're
Mhm.
helping them so that they are going along their journey and the way that they are meant to too. So really by doing that, you're standing in your power and helping them to stand in their power also.
That was gold. There's no other better way that could have been said. So thank you.
Of course.
That's really awesome. Now we need to take a break, and I feel called to do something I've never done on the show before. And when we come back, I'm going to do this thing. And Tammie, what I'd like you to do is during the break, I would like you to think of a question in your mind. I don't want you to tell me what it is, but I want it to be something that and then not necessarily a future event or something, but something that you would like to have communicated with you. And I've got my cards that I'm going to actually pull a couple of cards for you. I cannot believe the accuracy and then we're going to talk about it, but I can't believe the accuracy of these things.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break, so don't go away, anybody. We're gonna make Tammie cry next. We'll be right. We'll be well, maybe not. We'll be right back.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
And welcome back, everybody, to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Brachelle's here. Tammie's here. Tammie Brachelle, help me.
Vecchiarelli, I think is what she said. Is that correct?
Yes,
Tammie
it is.
Vecchiarelli. Hey, go me. That's why I'm here.
She's the staff linguist. And by the way, Brachelle, I don't know if you were here for the very first part of the show, but she's in Poland.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And she
Yeah.
teaches third grade in Poland and doesn't speak Polish.
Well, you know what? Everybody learns in different ways, and as they're learning, so are you.
Exactly.
And so what I've done is I have this deck of cards, and I'll tell you the brief story about this. I went to a psychic fair, and they were just closing up, and I was walking around the tables, and a lady that had tarot cards and that sort of thing was there, and she was packing up, and I said, I'm looking for a deck of for some cards, and she said, well, you might want oracle cards, and this is the oracle deck that that was sitting in the crate that she'd already packed up, and it was at the very top of the crate, and it was just sitting there, and it said, pick me, pick me. So I picked him, and this is by it's called Keepers of the Light. They're oracle cards by Kyle Gray, and I started using them, and I got it. And Brachelle, she'll vouch for me that whenever we do this, it means something, and it means something to the person that they're pointing the cards at. I don't know how they do it, but that's how they do it. And so, would you like to explain a little bit more about the use of this kind of medium and these kind of cards?
Sure. So yeah, actually, or it's so funny you have oracle cards because that's primarily what I use. I actually don't really have that deep of a connection with tarot cards. I feel like oracle cards, there's so much room for interpretation that it gives you the ability to really tap into your gifts more. In my viewpoint, tarot cards, there's just so much meaning there because a lot of people use them compared to oracle cards. There's so many different ones, and there's so much different imagery that you can really look at it and tap into your intuition.
And having said that, and have you thought of a question?
I have.
And we'll see how well this works out and stuff. So, and in this particular deck, it has different entities and different people like Archangel Michael and Mother Mary and all that kind of stuff. And so, and then they tell you, so they give you a little saying that should be in line with what your question is and what you were thinking. So when I pull the first card and look at again, Brachelle, another card I've never pulled. I've never gotten this one. Shekinah, sacred self. Unleash your spirit, express your gifts, dance to the sacred rhythm of life.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. Yeah,
Is
me and Kevin have been doing this for months. I've never seen that card.
I love it.
And so that's what's going on now. And then what's coming up for you is here's another one I've never had. Lady Portia, divine order. Do what you feel is right. An important lesson is unfolding.
Oh wow. Okay, if you're open to this, Tammy, what was your question?
It was about this next phase of my life and working towards my dream life and, thinking about the path that I'm on and, how are things going to go and everything like that. And I feel like those cards were perfect to it. Like basically telling me, you're doing the right thing, sitting in your power, being on here right now with you guys, letting the path unfold the way it's supposed to.
You are dead on. And
Yeah.
it's it's amazing. I don't know how they do this. Answer me this, Tammie, because I don't get it. I can go to my radio in my car and I turn on the ignition, and
Mhm.
the song that I was thinking of, not this particular song, but what was resonating with me, the thought will the lyrics will be on the radio. How the hell do they do that?
I wish I had a perfect answer for you. I don't, because that was one of the first gifts that I developed was clear audience that you're talking about with the radio. That was my first gifts that I developed. And just
Yep.
learning how to interpret the songs. I don't know how they do it, but it's a beautiful thing. Sometimes we just have to enjoy the magic of it all.
Ooh,
Well,
I have to ask you. I'm sorry, Kevin, I have to because Tammy, you
Mhm.
said that you have these experiences. Have you ever like been thinking about something or needing an answer and you have a conversation with someone or you overhear a conversation that gives you that answer and nobody would even have any idea of what they just said and why that's so powerful?
Oh, of course. I literally had that thing happen today, actually. I was
Okay.
I was at work with a friend and I literally just had the thought. It was beautiful out, it was sunny out, which is not typical of this time of the year. And
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, wow, such a beautiful day. I'm so grateful for this day and just, how beautiful it is. And my friend that's spiritual looks at me and she goes, I just got a really positive energy from you. Where'd that come from?
Ah.
It literally felt like radiating off of me.
I love that.
Yeah. Mhm.
it's truly amazing how we pick up on each other's energy and how that actually works. My son, who's not particularly spiritual, by the way, he's a diesel mechanic, and I want to see if this story resonates with you. He calls me and he says, I was listening to a podcast, not yours, Dad. Oh, geez. And they were talking about energy, and he talked about a transducer. Do you know what a transducer is?
No idea.
Neither did I, but he does because he's a diesel mechanic. What a,
Mhm.
a transducer does is it transforms either words into energy or energy into words, depending. So, as an example, the radio station that I worked at had a transducer because they sent out the radio signal into the world, and it was energy. It was translated from words to energy. Then it hit my car because I don't know if you've noticed, but there are no cords or plugs or anything from the radio station to your car. It all
Mhm.
comes through the air, and people don't know how that happens, but it all comes through the air, but it's all energy. And then a transducer in your car translates it back from energy back into vibration and music and words, and that's how it works in a universal basis. Because and that's how you can read things that are not necessarily there right in front of you. Brachelle's done some remarkable things. We've had some guests on, and she'll say, "Yeah, he was standing right there, right next to you." Does that resonate? Does that make sense?
Oh, 100% yes. I have this happen all the time. So for me and my gifts, I can not only feel energy like around me, I can actually feel the energy of people. Like if someone is feeling pain in their side, it's happened actually a couple times. I have a friend that has diabetes, and I'll look at her and say, Is something wrong with you right now? I don't know. Like in 5 minutes, wait and see what happens. The last time it happened, she looked at me and she said, I forgot to set an alarm and I need to do my insulin.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah. Or
Wow.
even in the store, I get
Yes.
lots of experiences. I walk into a store, I'm like, somebody in here is hurting. Somebody in here is really excited. Somebody in here is really going through some chaos in their life. It comes so strongly sometimes I could probably walk through the store and pinpoint exactly who it is.
Yeah, exactly. And
Freaky.
isn't that amazing how our gifts are like that? How
Yeah.
we have that ability, and at the same time, how sad it is how many people are cut off from that, and just how
Hmm.
many people just aren't tapped in with that. How
Yeah.
amazing would this world be if we all were living in our authentic truth?
Yes, and I know we're running out of time, but next time, because you have to come back. So next time, I really love to deep dive into talking about like recognizing how much the average human uses in the percentage of their brain, because it's not very
Right.
much.
Mm-mm. No.
And by the way, Tammie, before we go, and Michelle's right, we do have to go. How's my dad?
So it's funny you say that. Did someone call you Kenny at some point in time? Is that like a nickname of you?
That was my best friend when I was growing up.
Okay, because before I got on the call, I heard the name Kenny, and I was like, I don't think that's his name.
Yeah, his name is Kenny Fulkerson.
Oh,
And I grew up with him from 5th grade until we moved when I was 13. It's amazing that you came up with. I wonder if he's still here. uh, no, you never know. But because my dad passed 15 years ago, and he's I've been told he's very proud of what we've accomplished here and what we're continuing to do. So
sure, I completely agree with that.
So
Mhm.
we're and Brichelle's absolutely right. You have to come back. Will you come
Oh,
back?
Yes.
yes, please. I would love to.
And before we go, Michelle, why don't you ask?
Yes. Well, first, let's make sure that everybody has the information, ways to contact you, stuff like
Mhm.
that. So go ahead and do that first. And then after that, anything that you'd love to tell our audience or our listeners that is from your heart.
Yeah, sure. So, Aurora Relationship Healing is my business. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook. I also have a website by that name, aurorarelationshiphealing.com. And I just want to reach as many women as I possibly can and help them to fully heal and become their authentic selves and be able to express themselves from the inside out. That's really what I hope to do.
Hmm,
Mhm.
And
beautiful.
would you
Thank
like
you.
to tell us anything that you would like us to know?
Just thank you, honestly, for this opportunity. I mean, I am so beyond grateful for this as someone that is on this journey to have amazing people like you that have come into my path. I'm very, very grateful.
Well,
It's
and
an
thank you
honor.
so much.
Mhm.
It's an honor having you
Mhm.
here, and you're a delightful individual. And Brichelle is she's becoming so an important part of the show. And if only I could get her to show up on time, that would be really good.
Somebody put it on your calendar the day I do.
And
Working on time management.
again, Tammie, last name is,
Vecchiarelli.
Vecchiarelli.
and Aurora Relationship Healing.com is where you go. And do the Divine Weaver's Path. That sounds really fascinating. And a deep dive into your soul so you can find out who you really are, so you can live the life that you wanted to create before you even got here.
Exactly. You said it perfectly.
And I got lucky. But thank you, Tammie. And
Thank you.
Michelle, we got another show to do in a half hour, so you got to stick around, kid.
Yes, I'll
Yeah.
be here. Thank you, Tammie. So
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin